Hello. Today I'm going to explain the 2013 anime Mushibujiou. Enjoy watching it. After a long and dangerous journey, the young man finds himself in the capital, where he is almost immediately lost. Likely the disoriented Jimmy is helped by the pretty tea shop owner Orphaner Haru, who feeds him and points him in the right direction. Soon they witness Misha's brutal attack on the man. Tsukishima tries to save the doomed victim, but is interrupted by Mischievagos commander Katari Meijunahara, who orders him to retreat and entrust the problem to professionals. He informs them that Ginghua is unable to walk because of a misdemeanor he committed while traveling with the Lord's son and his written. The group was attacked by spider, which caused the Lord's hair to wet himself and disgrace himself. Tsukishima took the blow. He had to cut a joint in his right leg to protect his child. The two are forced to interrupt their conversation when suddenly Haru is kidnapped by a monster. Jimmy desperately rushes into a battle, but ends up trapped by a horde of arthropods. As luck would have it, fighters including Hibachi and ninja specializing in explosive devices, shrink Haiko. Koikawa, a criminal, and Itsama, a member of the noble Yujutani clan, are quickly brought to the location. Tsukishima fights with the trio, but quickly loses. Remembering the perception of his term but loving father, the boy pulls himself together and continues to fight. When the strongest of the squad, Mugai, appears and saves the teenagers. Impressed by Jimmy's abilities, Kotaro receives the boy's potential and accepts him into the squad. After the magistrate officially appoints Tsukishima as a fighter, the motivated hero immediately begins an intensive training program, dreaming of becoming strong enough to repay Mugai for saving his life, which makes Hibachi incredibly angry. When the five hunters gather in the common room for a meeting, Matano Haru informs the newcomer of the three cases of their profession and the origin of the flesh-eating creatures, but also mentions that no one knows what the mysterious leader of Mushibujiou looks like. Realizing that the maintenance of peace and order in Edo rests on his shoulders, Jinbee promises his comrades to live up to their expectations. When suddenly a townsman bursts in and reports a new insect attack. The team moves in, but Kotari forbids Fukushima to fight for the next month. Worried for his safety, no newcomers have stayed with the group for more than 10 days, all either dying or fleeing out of fear. During the first patrol with Hibachi, the annoyed boy admits that at this rate, he will never reach Mugai's level. Taken pity on his companion, the ninja reveals that their mysterious partner used to be a member of the strongest warrior group, the Insect Hunters, which is indisputable proof of his skill. The girl also mentions her childhood. As a young girl, she was confidently taught the secret techniques known as temple by her own grandfather, who once took the part in feudal wars. When Katari showed up at their village about a year ago and asked Hibachi to join the group, her father was angry because he believed war was not a woman's occupation. The girl went against her guardian's wishes and joined the team, wanting to retain the fighting style her grandfather has spent a lifetime on, and soon encountered her first monster that nearly took her life. Likely Mugai showed up in time to help her. Talk about the perfect samurai is interrupted by the appearance of a dangerous dragonfly over the territory. Hibachi orders Jinbee to evacuate civilians, but in the meantime she is confronted and quickly loses the upper hand. Tsukishima returns and forces the girl to defeat the monster. As a result, the two sons become good buddies. One day he witnesses Shinyuku easily cut through a stone with his katana and asks his comrade in arms to teach him how to use it. Following his sensei around, Jimmy encounters the townspeople's dismissive attitude towards Koikawa to the latter's dark past. Shortly after, the joint patrol Shinjuku was charged with a serial robbery of idiots wealthy. Although Tsukishima himself discovered his partner at the scene of the crime, he does not believe in his guilt and decides to prove it to the public. The hero, having realized that Koikawa's tarnished reputation deprived him of all support, freezes his comrade in arms and offers to return his good name by catching the real culprit. Matsuno Haru, meanwhile, reports to the head of the Magulanet, stating that Shiniku had been destined for a similar fate since he was a child, after his father, Sanuzuki was the leader of a band of bridges. Koikawa was soft and sensitive like his mother, whom he loved intensely, and swore not to kill innocents until the day Oka was murdered. Rage and lust for revenge boiled in the boy's blood, causing him to exterminate 99 people, which earned him his nickname. The police catch up with the fugitives and prepare to punish them, when suddenly a mantis monster appears to punish, which Sunjik intends to fight, but is wounded in the back by a law enforcement officer. Meanwhile, when suddenly Mugai is visited by his former comrade in arms, Mitsuki, and reproaches him for his betrayal. A mantis monster appears, which Sunjik intends to fight, but is wounded in the back by a law. Tsukishima protects Sensei Bead, convincing the police to abandon Quicarver's law enforcement officer. But he passed. Meanwhile, so that the camp, Mugai is visited to protect the city by his former comrade The in arms, Mitsuki, here and Haru joins his team, reproaches him for his betrayal and finally betrayal. Tsukishima proves how to wield the Cortex Sensei bead atone, after which he convincing the police to abandon discovers that the real robbers Carver's bloody past so that they can protect the city. Home were mantis. The hero joins his teacher and finally understands how to wield the atone, after which he discovers that the real robbers back home were mantis. After the victory, the samurai admits to the boy that he was at the scene of the crime by mistake, and tells to Jimmy when he realizes that the latter believes him without question. 11-year-old Temper fights off a red or snake attack with the help of the Shigami, Kamikijin Tamakichi, who are able to enlarge themselves hundreds of times, thus earning praise from the townspeople. Although he appears arrogant from the outside, he is in fact a very vulnerable hero. The boy works hard and dreams of meeting his parents soon. Jimmy is surprised to discover that the child is terrified of even small insects. He promises to keep atone secret and aware that he bites. In Shanghai, our eavesdropping duo plays a prank on Tama the next day as he tries to overcome his fears and become a worthy son of his parents. Thinking that Jinbee betrayed him, the hero resents his partner and goes to town alone. When the centipede appears in Idle, the boy has to forget his grudges against his comrades and say goodbye to his full day in order to lure the monster out of the ground and kill it. With the help of Tsukishima, Koi, Carver and Hibachi. Controlling the strokes of his Shikigami's paper arms, the boy drove closer and closer to Mushi and learns during the battle that the newcomer has kept his secret. Gaining courage, the boy uses all his abilities defeating the monster and almost getting rid of his fear. Later, Katar informs Jinbei that he will go on a mission with Mugai. It turns out that Mushi has been discovered on Minister Mizanasana Yishu's estate, and Mugai has personally chosen the newcomer as his mate. Tsukishima hurries to share the joyful news with Ohara and accidentally finds herself in a ridiculous situation. He confides to her that Mugai is a model samurai that dreams of becoming as strong and unflappable as sensei. All the way to the minister's house, the teacher remains true to himself and does not make a sound. Jimmy meets the servant Yusuke on the grounds of the manor, who assumed injures his leg. After doing his duty as a samurai and treating the wounded, he summoned for an audience with the minister, who is once again impressed by Mugai's place at the manor. After conducting formalities, the exterminators are brought up to speed and shown obvious evidence that the insects have decided to turn their official's residence into their nest. Moments later, the heroes hear a noise and discover a fleet that barely succumbs to Tsukushima's crushing blows. Once the young man destroys his opening, dozens of identical monsters appears in the room, forcing Mugai to join the battle, after which the warriors face the male. The minister's aide informs his boss of Jisuke's attack by a female fleet. Jimmy runs to the kitchen, ignoring the sensei's overconviction that the boy is not up to the task. While the young man fights to the life and death with the insect, his teacher shows no interest in his plight, shocking the minister's entourage. Mugai, however, soon hears Yusuke's heartbreaking scream and discovers the wounded but stubborn record apologizing to his eldest for not living up to his expectations. Consile quickly dispatches the monster, admitting that didn't expect much from the newcomer. He conceals from the young man the fact that they only chose him for the assignment because if Jimmy were to die, he would be easily replaced. One day, under the cover of night, an unknown masked man sneaks into the squad's headquarters to steal secret documents from the archives. The stranger is accidentally caught by Hibachian Tsukishima and brought to the commander. Nagatamamro is introduced as a bookworm who has lost faith in humans and has dedicated his life to the pursuit of knowledge. Nakatomi Maru wishes to receive reports on Mushi, but Katari forbids and Tree, and Hibachi beats the intruder. Jimmy alone genuinely admires the guest's wisdom, but not wanting to be fooled, refuses the company of Fighter and encounters a mosquito for the first time. He escapes death only by a miracle, which turns out to be Tsukishima. Unsure how to defeat Mushi, the fighter asks Nagatamamro to share his wisdom, forcing him to remember how he became so curious as heir to the ruler of Vido. Yeshigata Kyukawa grew up in an unfriendly environment, so books were his only salvation. Tokugawa slows down the mosquito with smoke so that Jimmy can defeat the monster. After befriending the rest of the group, Nagatamamura still sneaks into our archived, where he finds a scroll with the map of Japan and secret markings. Katari, who appears, strikes a bargain with the hare. He will not reveal his identity if he forgets what he saw in the headquarters. Yeshigai accepts the term, adding that he intends to visit Jimmy from time to time. Thank you for watching. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, write comments and leave likes. If you enjoyed the video, see you soon.